So next I'd like to invite a panel of people from the corporate environment up to the stage. And I will introduce them all at the beginning. Each of them, I've asked each of them to talk about a particular program that their company offers. And so we'll do that in sequence and then open up for some Q&A and some discussion about those. But I think that in this selection of corporate programs, you'll see a range of programs that are focused internally, programs that are focused externally, that address various types of R, of the ROI that we have talked about. And I think our best of class programs, we hope that you'll be inspired by them and think about programs perhaps that your company might want to undertake. So first let me introduce Kristin Campbell leads the corporate and employee giving at Genentech. And she is, go ahead. She, among other highlights, led Bloomberg's entry into financial reporting and was recognized as the 30 under 30, talented people for financial reporting for Bloomberg. But now she is involved with employee programs at Genentech, such as Future Lab and others that she'll tell us about. And we're delighted to have you with us. Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you. I'm going to come over here just for a minute and put down it seems like there are a couple of us who are suffering from a little bit of a cold, so I have a little beverage here in case I start coughing. Sorry for my froggy voice. I don't think I have to narrate this slide to say that there is a gap in talent, and this is the Bay Area. We know that 80% of the fast-growing jobs of the future require STEM competency. And we also know that 50% of students report being turned off by science by the time they reach middle school. So that's a huge gap, and it's a gap that we saw playing out in real time in our own backyard, where across the street or across the highway from Genentech, we had students who really didn't know what biotechnology was, and a school district where the only career pathway was auto body. And again, auto shop is a totally valid career pathway, but we felt like there was, again, a gap against the emerging careers of tomorrow. South San Francisco is a school district of 9,000 students. It's an underfunded school district. It's a school district with a significant percentage of low-income students and English language learners. And at the elementary school level, that English language learner rate jumps from 25% up to 70%, and in a number of the elementary schools, as many as 90% of students are non-native speakers. That diversity is exciting, though, at the same time. And when we talk about underrepresented minorities in science and the need to recruit from a more diverse pool of future innovators, this is that group of students, and this really is our community. So I skipped the video because it would take us too long. Yeah, so anyway, that was that. So Future Lab is our partnership with the South San Francisco School District. And I'm not going to talk a lot about the partnership aspect, except to say that it was a critical success factor to engage in really co-designing these programs with administrators and teachers, and to engage in some deep listening to ensure that what we were bringing to bear was in fact needed on the ground and would be useful for students and teachers. We are trying to build a pipeline that will capture and carry students all the way from elementary school through high school, building excitement about science and interest in careers in biotechnology in particular, and related to STEM more broadly. We start in elementary school with Gene Academy, which is our tutoring program. And in the middle school level, we have our 8th grade science competition known as the Helix Cup. And then when students enter high school, they can join the Science Garage biotechnology curriculum. All the way along, we have hands-on science experiments and lots of connectivity with our employees. So when we talk about what we're trying to accomplish as a company with Future Lab, we are trying to bring this science alive for all of the students in South San Francisco, unified, to fuel that excitement, to create connectivity to biotechnology and awareness about career paths. Internally, we're looking to be supporting this long-term priority of diversity that I just talked about, and also to be engaging our employees to do good across a range of options through really magnetic and meaningful experiences that they can have as part of the program. Future Lab is powered by volunteers. Every year, more than 1,300 Genentech employees volunteer as a part of the program for a total of about 25,000 hours of volunteerism every year. And this is the place where, in fact, we are deriving this short-term business value right out of the gate. So we know from our surveying, we're Genentech, right? We're geeky science people, so we like to measure everything, measure, measure, measure. So we know from all of our exit surveys that our employees report that they're developing new skills, that they're deepening their connectivity to one another, that they're reconnecting with the mission of the company, which at a purpose-driven place like Genentech is super important, and that they're able to recharge. It's sort of like recess. And again, in a very intense, fast-paced place like Genentech, that has its own intrinsic value. But we also see, and I'm perhaps most excited, that Future Lab brings value to employees who never volunteer, because they have this halo effect of general pride in Genentech's commitment. So we're ranked on the Fortune Best Place to Work list every year. And this past year, we were number 6, and it's a big point of pride for us. Every year, the #1 factor cited on that list for our presence is employee pride and how we give back to our community. So the race for talent in the Bay Area is real, and it's really real in biotechnology right now. So from a recruitment, retention, and employee engagement perspective, Future Lab is delivering the kind of value that enables us to keep investing in it as a program, not just as a philanthropic enterprise, but as a part of our long-term business health and presence in our community. So we start with Gene Academy, which is our after-school tutoring program, weekly homework, hands-on activities. 200 students are drawn from the 4 Title I schools in South San Francisco. They come on campus, they come on buses, they meet with 2 mentors, the same 2 mentors every week for the full school year, and in many cases they will meet with those same 2 mentors over the course of the full 3 years of the program. We do homework help. We have a lot of hands-on science stuff we do that's pretty fun, and it's just amazing, chaotic, beautiful mess that happens in the cafeteria on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. But the other thing that's happening is for many of these students, it is the caring adult presence that we know is important and can be an indicator and a prognosticator of future success. It may be the only one-on-one time they have with an adult all week long. So after Gene Academy, they move on to middle school, where in 8th grade, they can participate in a school-wide competition we call Helix Cup. This is a team-based challenge. It's a one semester long. Teams compete in a series of science challenges. The challenges themselves are not particularly revolutionary. This is an egg drop that you can see on this slide. But I would say we're turning the volume to 11. And we are really looking at making this attractive, magnetic, exciting. So we have beautiful design and materials. Our instructional materials connect the science challenges to real-world applications, and we have a ton of swag. And for example here, this is an industrial scissor lift, which is not generally how kids get to do an egg drop. So a lot of the goal here is to make it super exciting. So from Helix Cup, they move on to Science Garage, which is our 4-year biotechnology curriculum. This takes place in a 7,000 square foot, $8 million facility that we donated and built on the campus of South San Francisco High School. Again, hands-on curriculum where they're learning really real biotechnology capabilities at this point. This is about being able to say, I may have a career in science. So they have intro to lab all the way through to protein analysis, DNA sequencing. And what's cool about this particular program is it's teaching science in a totally different way. There's no homework. They're not taking tests. They're figuring out how to successfully complete a lab. And if they aren't successful at the lab, they can come back and do it again and again and again until they're successful. This is how science is taught. And we see from students, this is how science is done. This is how science moves forward and how we work at Genentech. It's not how science is typically taught. And so we see from students in the response data that they're saying, hey, this feels really different. But more importantly, we're seeing this correlate to some really exciting predictors of students, and it's too small to read, but you see these big green bars on things like, I've learned from mistakes or from failed lab results. I've learned new ways of solving problems. I'm more interested in going to college. So we think those are early predictors of long-term success, and we'll continue to measure and continue to grow the program. We're only in our 4th year, really the first year of having all of these components in place, but we know it's a long pathway. And for us, that's okay, because so is making medicines. So this is just a close with a quote from our CEO that really talks about science being a test of patience. We believe that over this long-term commitment by engaging our employees, that we really have the potential to be shaping the innovators of tomorrow, and that the future of science is here. That's what I got.
How exciting. How exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you. Very exciting. Is it too late to go to school?
I definitely would like to join these classrooms.
Next, I want to introduce Charlotte Fenner, who's Director of Partner Resources at Starbucks Coffee Company. We had Starbucks today. I pointed that out to Charlotte. And during her career, she's worked for global brands in the UK and the Netherlands, Germany, Australia. Before coming to the Bay Area, she spent several years as the Director of Global Leadership Development at Starbucks headquarters in Seattle. And she's currently responsible for supporting the Northern California business with a very innovative program. I will say that I have a special and personal connection to this program through the daughter of a dear friend of mine who was, the friend's daughter was struggling greatly and got a job at Starbucks, got interested in completing her college degree, felt that this was her avenue to do that, and really has straightened up and is flying straight now. So a personal thanks in describing your program.
Well, you've just shared one of the stories. Well, and that's one of the reasons. So we are at Starbucks so proud of this program. I mean, it's a national program. Although I'm responsible for the Northern California business, and I can talk to some of what I see there. It is a national US program, and so I'm going to share a little bit about it. It came about in June 2014, and it was. It's a partnership between Starbucks and Arizona State University, and essentially it allows all partners who work on average 20 hours a week or more to get a bachelor's degree with full tuition coverage through Arizona State University online degree platform. They can choose any degree they choose from more than 70 degree options, and I think really unique that there is no obligation to Starbucks, so you can graduate and you can leave the next day. We hope they don't, but you can. And so I am going to show a video because I do think this tells the story in a much more powerful way than I can about the impact it's having to our current scholars.
Going to school, it's a struggle all the way through, and then there's years of paying off that debt afterwards.
I mean, there's financial aid, but it only goes so far.
Getting my degree was just always on the back burner. It was all about my daughters.
But I always heard, I wasn't supposed to finish school. It wasn't in the cards. I grew up in a single-parent household with that type of income. College was the last thing to think about. Groceries, clothes, all that came first. I get emotional because it got really difficult. I wanted to keep going, to prove to my mom that I can do something that you didn't accomplish for you. We can do this together. Look good.
My twin sister and I started racing motocross at 11 years old. There wasn't a lot of talk in college because we were focusing on racing. Filmmaking is a huge passion of mine. I would love to be in the film industry. That's the end goal for sure. When the program first came out, I was intrigued by the fact that you can get your degree for free. And you only have to work part-time. It seemed too good to be true. I have the opportunities to go and film on the weekends, go to school, and work at the same time. It's a gift, honestly.
I grew up in a small town where a lot of kids didn't think of college as an option. It was with teaching dance where I saw that I had an effect on kids. I had an effect on inspiring and motivating people. I do want to go back to my hometown to be that teacher that motivates kids that higher education is a possibility. You can do it.
It really is full circle. My whole motivation for coming to Starbucks in the beginning was to help our girls with their education. I am in my 19th year with Starbucks, and now I am getting my own degree. My daughters, they were pretty excited. My youngest gave me school supplies for my birthday present.
3 years ago, I wasn't where I am now, and that's because of Starbucks.
I was just happy I was getting a free pound of coffee a week when I came to the company. Yeah, this is really huge.
An opportunity knocks at your door, you need to answer it, right? I would be a fool not to take it. I'd be a fool not to answer the door and let opportunity come in.
Walking across that stage will definitely fill me with joy.
And so we have hundreds of those stories, and I mean, that in itself feels like a reason enough to do it, but there are other reasons. And so the reason, I guess, we created this program in the beginning, as you said, or others have said, you know, there were business reasons, and there was a bigger social reason. And so at the macro level, I mean, you saw on the video, student debt at $1.3 trillion. The fact that where your parents live or your parents' zip code determines whether you go to college more than your aspiration, your ability, your skills. The fact that more than half of US students that start today don't finish, and that was a big piece for us in the beginning. It was that completion. So many people enter college and aren't able to finish college, and particularly only 11% of low-income students finish 6 years later, which is huge. And so that was the biggest social reason for us feeling that we had to do something. And then for the company, it's really interesting. If you think about Starbucks in the retail landscape and how that's changing, we are one of few retailers today that the experience is still about the human connection. It's about you and a barista, the barista that makes your latte. It's personal, it's not online. Not as much as others, but you have to go into the store and interact. And that is a big part of why customers come to us. And so for most customers, Starbucks is that barista. It's the person who makes your latte every morning and the conversation you have and the interaction, and it can change your day. And what we know from customer insights is that affects customer purchase intent. So customers come to Starbucks because of how we treat our people. So knowing we treat our people well should lead to more customers coming to Starbucks. So there's definitely, that is a big reason for us to look at this investment positively. We also have 74% of our partners are aspiring students. I mean, we have a high millennial population, young employees. So high percentage are aspiring, but only about a third are actually enrolled in school. And then, you know, as research will tell us, college graduates have the ability to earn over an extra $1 million across their career and their lifetime if they go to college. So, and so I just want to touch on why ASU, because there are obviously so many great education organizations out there, so many we could have partnered with, and a few key reasons. We went through a robust process to choose RSU. This slide kind of represents the mission and values match of the organizations around community, connection, inclusion, that really do mesh very well together. But the ASU was also, I mean, when we had to be able to scale this, so we have over 135,000 partners in the US. We needed something that could scale, and it had to be online learning. And ASU, their commitment and their focus on their online learning degrees, online degrees, was huge. And the experience when you talk to partners who have gone through it is just amazing. It's myth-busting online learning for sure, but they really, it's an amazing degree experience for them. And the support. So every Starbucks scholar gets a coach that takes them through the whole experience. So it's not just about the financial, that's part of it, but also how do you manage going to college? How do you do that while you're looking after your family? And they have a coach that takes them all the way through that. And then I'll touch on, so there has to be an ROI, and it's exciting. We're seeing a great ROI. We see over 60% through our recruitment team, 60% of new applicants express interest in the College Achievement Plan, and about 17% right now say that's why they came to Starbucks. clearly a lot of opportunity, but it's giving us a great positive hope for more. We've expanded the program. It was originally about college completion. Now it covers the whole college degree. We've expanded it to include veteran families, spouses and children. And we've created a pathway to admission. So there's a way now for those that aren't eligible for ASU because they missed some education, to close those gaps by taking classes tuition free, so they're eligible to take the degree. And through that, we're seeing 3 times more people participating. So it's ramping up. We're now actually I checked the stats this morning, we're at about nearly 8,000. So we're a little more than this. Almost 8,000 as of this morning partners are participating, nearly 1,000 graduates. And where we're seeing the ROI is of those graduates, of those scholars, 2 times the level of retention than other partners, and 4 times more likely to be promoted. So we're seeing the results, and you start thinking about the engagement that creates. As I said, partners can leave, and some of them do, but when you talk to partners, and like your daughter's friend, you talk to partners who are in the degree, and the level of pride and confidence that they have in themselves, and how they bring that to work is huge. And I'm not sure we can exactly quantify what impact that has on engagement, but you hear it and you see it. They're studying degrees that are directly applicable to their work. So organizational leadership is a popular degree. So that's having an impact. And so, we've got 55% of stores have a scholar, and where it's really powerful, and I've heard this a number of times in talks, is where there's a community around it. So where you've got 2, 3 scholars in a store, they study together. We talk about Starbucks being a campus itself. I mean, you walk into a Starbucks and there's someone studying somewhere. So they start studying together. There's a community. And we organize graduations, so clearly they can't all make it to the Arizona State graduation. So every scholar gets, you saw the apron that Victor was opening, he gets an apron, a pin, and the community throws a party, and that will include partners, families, customers, everyone comes in, and there's a graduation party for every scholar. Because that's important. You've got to, they're proud, they've worked so hard, and so it's much bigger than just getting the degree, it's the community support, I think. And so that's the College Achievement Plan, and we are, as we said, we're really proud, and even for those partners that don't stay at Starbucks, they go on, we believe they are, and we hope they're loyal customers. Sometimes they come back, and at the end of the day, they tell a really positive story about the experience they've had, and they go into the world with skills to make the world a little bit better. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, I want to introduce Sima Yazdani, who is a senior technical leader at Cisco and chief data scientist at Learning at Cisco. Cisco has a long tradition of supporting learners, and there might be a few of us here who remember before the internet, it was Cisco's Network Academy that really with a crowdsourcing platform, enabled people who knew a little bit about networking to help others put free and online tips for what to do if you got into trouble on the Network Academy, and actually grew the world of networkers who were able to install the systems that enabled the internet to take place. Well, Cisco's still doing important things in this, and Sima's going to tell us a little bit about some of the programs that she's working with. She has, in addition to her work at Cisco with their new programs, been involved with the Knowledge Systems Laboratory here at Stanford, and we appreciate your support and involvement in that, Sima.
Thank you, Martha. So my audio is coming, so that's good. Well, thank you very much. I definitely connect heart and mind and soul with your programs. And I like to connect it to what Cisco has done over the years. As you mentioned, Networking Academy is a public-private partnership that started about 20 years ago. And it started by volunteers, not a company mandate. And it started by volunteers going to East Palo Alto schools. And the reason was when they would come, I don't know how many people know about this story, when they would, those early days of that startup, their building was in a less expensive real estate, which was East Palo Alto. So when they would go to work in the parking lot, they would find bullet cases and shattered glasses of their building, their office building, and it bothered them. And then they learned, oh, East Palo Alto school, you know, and the schools, hardly teachers wouldn't, even principals wouldn't go to school. It was that unsafe. So they took upon themselves on Fridays, go paint the school, rebuild the school, talk to these kids, teach them math, mentor them. And pretty soon the students start coming to school, and they like the fact that these people come and paint their walls and talk to them, take interest in these individuals. So they started asking, what do you do? And the volunteer says, this is what we do. We connect computers and we build networks. You want me to show you? And they said, yes. And they showed them, and these kids who were failing in math, they learned to build an intranet for their school. This is a beautiful story, many awards. And it started with that. These engineers went back to the company, and they founded Networking Academy and delivering the curriculum with partnership with school district, oftentimes with ministries of education around the world. About 4 or 5 million graduates of this program over the years, about 10,000 teachers around Networking Academy with schools, colleges, nonprofit, and about 2,000, maybe more, academies. And it's a great example when you take a volunteer and a corporate sponsorship with partnership with public sectors, and then a shared vision. We talked about earlier today that how do you make this public investment work with demand on the job market. This was definitely a great example, so I wanted to thank on that. But I wanted to talk about the concept of networking. And since my background is also data systems, architecture, AI, bring that to life, bring it to what matters to us individually or in communities or our society. So when I think about the workforce and the shortage of talent, or think about economic growth and drivers, of course, talent and workforce is an important part of it. But when I hear different perspectives that AI is going to be a threat as opposed to an enabler, again, it comes back, it depends what your philosophy and your view of the world is. How do you see the world? That is what drives the outcome you're going to get. But we can have that shared vision and think of technology, no matter what it is, to be an enabler to improve our well-being and basically the humanity. We can do that, and there are examples of that. So economically, there are a lot of studies have been done that workforce development, either at the higher K-12, higher education, and also at the workforce when you are on the job, corporate training. It's a big economic sector. Definitely a lot of profit to be made. If we want the R in the return on investment, be only the profit. But beyond that, I would like to say, how do you value a quality of a decision for the organization at the individual level, at the team level, at the organization leader level, or for your customers when the customer service can quickly and easily and very simply solve customers' problem. It could be a network that is down, or you are preventing a ransom attack. What's the value of that quality customer service? Or what's the value of the engineer consulting at the customer side? Or coming up with this kind of program inside the company to increase talent engagement. So I think that's where we can assist the workforce both to stay in the learning constantly. You don't have to stop working and then so that you go learning, or you stop learning because you are working. If we can accomplish that by building bridges. So what I want to say is that there are great programs already at universities, community colleges, cities, workforce training program inside the companies, but from a data perspective, systems architect perspective, they're disconnected. They're not streamlined. And if we can accomplish together creating that streamlining so that from where the talent, it doesn't matter what their age is, either in K-12 or all the way to post 60 years. But they get them into the conversation, the collaboration can happen because learning happens all the time, not just in virtual or in class or in collaboration all the time. So our challenge is how do we connect them and allow that conversation and that skill development happen when you need it, when the problem happens, you know how to reach this experts and mentors, or you may not be in the middle of a problem solving, someone else is or another group is, they know how to find you. So the opportunity will find you, not just you look for the opportunity. These are the type of problem we can solve with AI, with networking. But we have to recognize what is that asset that we want to grow. Is that asset only money, or that asset, what I propose here is the cognitive ability? If we consider that, and when I heard about the cognitive surplus, there is a book by that name. It really inspired me to put all this together because, for instance, when we hear there is water shortage, and then when we get into the problem, we see there is not so much water shortage. There's plenty of water. There is not enough water resource management. So when I hear talent shortage, I immediately translate, we have talent resource management problem. Where are they, how we can discover them, how we can continue to upskill them, and how we can make it easier for them to find pathways to opportunity, or when opportunity happens, they find talent. So one of the newer programs Cisco does in this investing in digital economy, digital workforce, and assisting with digital transformation is Internet of Things Talent Consortium, chaired by Jean Dunn, the VP of our organization, bringing various business leaders, government leaders, thought leaders together, putting orchestrated program and pathways for helping developing skills you need in the whole Internet of Things ecosystem. So not just bringing people to my company or for my region, but also globally. So definitely we need more of such programs. Cisco is contributing a lot of training programs and curriculum, at the same with other companies like GE and many other organizations. But then, so these are what we do today. But again, as we think about this rapid and exponential growth of opportunities, at the same time, it's not just opportunities going to be growing, risks and threats are also growing. So how do we prepare for all of those? So that's where we need, again, we can use AI and data and information systems and great strategies to discover pathways. More and more we see that, let's say you are still going through college, there are no college degrees for IoT, or there are not many, right? But we can create multidisciplinary pathways to be prepared for those jobs of tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.